Today we're going to look at a transformation exploration. So what makes these functions move up, down, left, right, what stretches them, what flips them over the X or Y axis. We're going to formalize these transformation rules tomorrow or in 204. So you are going to need a graphing calculator, either a handheld one or either your phone. You could use Desmos, you could use the graphing calculator app that's linked at the top of the Google Classroom page. If you need help graphing these, then stop up outside A313 or send me an email because you need to be able to graph these and sketch their graph. I've given you some directions here, and I'm going to walk you through the first steps just for the first couple graphs on each page, and then you are going to finish the rest of the exploration. So on each of the graphs in 1 through 8, you are graphing the quadratic function. When you get to part 2, now you're looking at the absolute value function. So if you notice here, your graph has changed both in the equation and the parent function. So I put the parent function on the graph so that you could figure out, okay, this is the original graph. What does my new graph look like? So you're going to go to your y equals menu, and you're going to clear out whatever is in there. And if you look across the top up here, oh, I don't know. Okay, sorry, I had something weird going on. So see plot 1, plot 2, plot 3. If your y equals menu looks like this, you don't want to have a plot on. So you have to arrow up, hit enter, arrow down. None of those should be highlighted. So my first function is I just want to put the parent function x squared. The squared key is down here. So x squared in for the first graph. And then we just want to see that this comes up. So let's hit zoom 6 for the standard viewing window. So here's my parent function. I'm going to keep my blue parent function on all of the graphs 1 through 8. And you are going to now graph this secondary function, or this one right here, x squared plus 1, in your y2 menu. So x squared plus 1 goes in y2. So now when you graph it, you've got your parent function up there, and now you just graphed the transformation. So it says first, in your own words, how would you compare this to the parent function? Well, here's the red one. It's been shifted up 1 unit. So it's been shifted up 1 unit on the y-axis, right? And if I'm going to graph that, I can just start here and just kind of sketch the graph, right? The red graph is my transformed graph. Let's just do one more of those. And actually, I'm going to shift down to number 3 just to show you how to put it in with the parentheses. So I'm going to go back to my y equals menu, leave this in y1, clear this out of y2, and I'm going to type parentheses x plus 2 close parentheses squared in my y2 menu, and then I'm going to hit graph. You only have to hit zoom 6 the first time. All right, so what has happened, the red graph has now shifted to the left. So it has shifted left 2 units. See how it started at 0 and now it's at -2? So on my graph over here, I'm just going to show that the red graph has shifted to the left by 2 units. So you're going to continue with graphs 2 and 4 and 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those are all x squared. So what I would do is pause the video, complete those up through number 8, and come back to this video in a minute when you're ready to move on to part 2. Okay, so now you've completed numbers 1 through 8, and now we're on to part 2. We're looking at the absolute value function. So we're going to put absolute value function into our y equals menu. So we're going to go y equals, clear out what is in there. And in y1, to type absolute value, you type the math key, which is under alpha. You go over to number, and you select choice number 1 for absolute value. So see how that allows me to type absolute value of x? So if I hit graph, there's my parent function, which I have graphed on number 9's axis. go back to your y equals menu. So I need to put the absolute value of x plus 2. So I type math, num for number, abs for absolute value, x, and then on the outside, I'm going to type plus 2. So the red graph, what has happened to the red graph? It has shifted up 2 units. So now it's up here. So the V-shaped graph is now up here. So you're going to go through and you're going to complete 9, 10, 11, and 12, all with absolute value. 13, 14, 15, and 16, all with absolute value. So go ahead and complete those graphs and then come back to the video when you're ready to look at 17, 18, and 19. All right, so now I'm going to look at 17, 18, and 19. So this says, let's graph the following functions on the calculator. So let's do the square root of x and the negative square root of x. So I'm going to show you where that is in your calculator. So the square root key is you type the second key and then it's right over the x squared button. See over x squared right there is the square root key. So you type second x squared to get square root on your calculator. So the square root of x, let me graph that one first. So I just hit graph. All right, so I'm just going to kind of draw a rough sketch. This one looks like that, right? I just graphed it going sideways. So now I want to compare that with negative second square root of x. So what does this one look like? So this one is actually down here. So how do those differ? What's the difference? So it has been flipped over the x-axis, right? Flip over the x-axis. Okay, so now they want you to graph the same first function, but now instead of the minus sign being in front, the minus sign is going to be inside. So clear square root of negative x. All right, so now the graph has gone in this direction, right? The original graph went this way. Our new graph is going this way. So the difference is it's a flip over the y-axis. And I want you to try number 19 on your own once you've graphed these. Why don't you see a difference between number 8 and its parent graph and number 16 and its parent graph? So go back and look at 16 and 8. Oh, 8 is on the other page. I want you to look at how you drew the graph on 8 and 16. Look at the equation. See if you can come up with why we didn't see any difference and how that's different than in number 18. Why did we see a difference here? And then you can post, you could just post this back page so that I know that you completed the whole transformation exploration. So you could just post the last page, page 4, on Google Classroom for today. Thanks.